Today on Kicks Chronicles, we talk life and kicks with the founder of the Urban Syndicate, James Harvey. We talk about the kicks he loved growing up and the journey that led him to starting one of the biggest UK sneaker groups. He shares his experience in managing that group, the lessons learned, and frankly, some of the things he wishes he did a little bit better, while also acknowledging some of the areas of his personal growth through that process. We also talk about some of the best releases to come out so far in the year 2024, and in a sneaker battle for the ages, it's a big one, Nike SBs. This is Kicks Chronicles. Yes, my people, Big PROZECH back again, and you already know what it is. It's Kicks Chronicles, your sneaker and lifestyle podcast, episode 82, and it's a banger. Absolutely. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you and everyone around you is well. Thank you first and foremost for watching this episode, clicking on this episode, and for everyone that watched our previous episode with the Will everyone knows, Hackney's very own, Nike Sneakers' very own, Will Stowe. Shout out to Will as well for coming down to Crep Collection Club. Also shout that man out as well. Excellent episode. Absolutely loved it. Thank you very much for the feedback and the views, respectfully, and the listens, man. Really do appreciate it. This week, as I said at the top of the show, we are talking to the head founder, I should say. I don't want anybody to get in trouble, and forgive me for the tissues, because your boy PROZECH not feeling well, a little bit under the weather. Don't feel too sorry for me, because when you got a toddler, you never know where it can come from. It's like Randy Orton, it could grab you from wherever. So yeah, shout out to James Harvey of the Urban Syndicate, because this week he's my guest. James Harvey is my guest, the founder of the Urban Syndicate, one of the largest UK sneaker groups. If you go to any event, you're likely to see representatives from the Urban Syndicate. Seem to be a cool group, you know? Seem to be a cool group. And we've been crossing paths at various different events. And I have to admit, I was at an event and somebody I was interviewing kind of just said to me, bro, you probably should chat to that guy. So I made an effort to speak to him, not at that event specifically. I think it was Sneaker Nest, but it was another event. And when we got chatting, he seemed like a really cool guy. It'd been interesting because prior to that, there'd been a lot of talk around the Urban Syndicate, this group within the UK sneaker community. They're about 15k strong in terms of their followership on IG, but I think the actual core group is a lot smaller than that. But there was just a lot of chatter, a lot of thought from the outside potentially looking in, or issues with disgruntled former members that had spilled out into the wider community and caused people to have potentially a negative view of either James or the group as a whole. And because I'd got some of this information and people had sort of been mentioning things, I thought it'd be really important for me to actually speak directly to James about potential issues within the group, how the group works, what could have been done better, what has happened, essentially. And he was very candid. I have to be honest, man. James don't hold back, and he owns his stuff, bro. Respectfully. Really interesting interview. Also, from his perspective, and somebody like you'll hear him talk. He is very knowledgeable when it comes to what we do. For somebody that hasn't really been sort of following Kicks, and he'll admit this himself for a long time, but without a doubt, somebody that is living and breathing sneakers right now and has been for the last 4 to 5 years. Like, it's definitely something you can see ingrained within him, and that definitely comes across his authenticity in terms of what he likes, what he doesn't like, and also his knowledge of the game shows that he's put a lot of hours in, and that came through when we were talking about the releases that have come out this year and what Nike has done and what other brands are potentially doing in order to sort of drive a focus towards certain models like the DN or like We talk about the trophy room and other things as well. Very, very interesting takes. This is a bit of a longer interview because, to be honest, while I was going through it with the intention of cutting bits out, I realized a lot of it was really, really cool. And maybe that's a selfish thing because I really, really enjoy this conversation. Packed with a lot of gems. Like, respectfully, like, make sure you listen up because the guy does know what he's talking about. And I'll chip in with a couple of bits here and there as well. It's a really, really cool chat, especially when we start getting into the nitty gritty of the Urban Syndicate, which is, for a lot of people, something we don't really know about. We may have a negative connotation because of things we've heard, but hearing things from the horse's mouth are always better than hearing rumors. You get me? So yeah, this is what I'm about. This is what Kicks Chronicles about. We go straight to the source and we get the story. You get me? So yeah, James, absolute sport. Thank you for jumping on the pod, my bro. Yeah, also do the sneaker battle. You get me? I think I want to say I 3-0'd him, but it was a tight one, I have to be honest. He pulled out some big gun, no diddy, and I did something similar, and we'll leave it at that. You guys can let us know in the comments who pulled out the victory, but a really, really cool interview, a great guest, an interesting interview, one I believe that you will find entertaining also, and educational. And yeah, James, yeah, if you want to run this one back, broski, we could definitely do that because I felt like we left a little bit on the table. Yeah, man, that sequel could be even better. So yeah, guys, this is Kicks Chronicles. I'm your boy PROZECH. This is Kicks Chronicles. Little bit longer of an episode this week. You get me? A little bit longer. I do apologize, but it is packed full of gems. You get me? So if you want to put it on that 1.5 or that 2, I won't blame you. But definitely a good watch. Our guest this week, James Harvey, Urban Syndicate Founder. Enjoy. Yes, my people. Big PROZECH back again. And you already know what it is, man. It's Chronicles. We have another illustrious guest. The guy that is with me today is the founder of, and I quote, the ultimate sneakers and streetwear community. I'm talking about the one and only Urban Syndicate. You may have heard about them. Their founder, James Harvey, is in the piece, man. What are you saying, James? What's kicking, my bro?
Nah, I really appreciate the intro, man. Like it's been a good day. Everything seems good, and then we'll finish it off with a nice podcast with yourself. Been excited for this one for a while. Like I really want to get into it.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Me and James have sort of been sort of like ships in the night in certain respects.
Yeah, we passed each other at a few events, and like we haven't had the opportunity to actually catch up. So like, it's been a really awkward one. Where like after the event, like, oh, you were there, but it's always one of those things where like you go and you can't see everyone, and like
Of
there's
course,
just not
yeah.
enough time to really do the networking you want to do.
No, without a shadow of a doubt. But I did say to James off cam that I was at Sneaker Nest last year and I was speaking to Pedro from the panel. Shout out to Pedro and all the man from the panel. I just finished up an interview with him and James walked past and he was like, "You're gonna want to chat to that guy. He might have something to say." So yeah,
that is true.
so it's been in my mind for a minute, man. But yeah, at least a year in the making, or definitely a number of months, man. But yeah, glad we're doing it, man. But you know what we do on the pod is essentially we take it right back to the beginning, bro. So talk to me about your first love. What was the first shoe, the silhouette, what the brand? What was that first thing that gripped you and just said, you know what, you gotta have me?
So sneakers for me is kind of like a all-encompassing thing. So like literally from the get-go, like the reason I got into sneakers was me and my friend Luke, who he lives back where I grew up in Wigan. We were chatting about the Yeezy 350 Zebra. Like it sounds so bad when I say I'm from like the Yeezy generation, but like the 350 was like the sneaker of the moment back then. Like I remember
Yeah, it had without a doubt, it had a massive moment.
Yeah, like it was the shoe that the zebra was about. Like I remember seeing pictures of Kanye wearing it on Instagram, and like it just was like you couldn't escape that shoe. Like the hype about it was unreal. So we were discussing it. Like I wasn't a sneaker at the time. Like I wasn't like I had a couple of Air Force Ones or whatever, but like wasn't like into sneakers. And we decided on a whim to go to Foot Locker in Manchester and just go camp out for it. Like, it was just one of those things. Like 2 days before,
Wow.
we decided like it's dropping in. We actually were doing some research, like trying to work out where it dropped. Like, I was so clueless at the time, and me and my Luke jumped on the first train in the morning at like 4 o'clock. Got to Manchester like sometime like 4:30, and just jumped in the queue. We're like 10th maybe. Just, but the thing is, like,
Decent.
we're quite open people. We started chatting to people, like started to like make friends, and like that's actually where like all the later parts of this story come in. Like, so many of the people I met at that day are the
You
reasons that like I'm
serious?
still into sneakers now. Like, it was just the queue was crazy. Like, I remember meeting a guy called Ryan who I still follow on Instagram. Like, he's not into sneakers anymore, but like he ended up buying two pairs on that day. Like, he bought one from Foot Locker, one from Size, and then he was explaining to me like he bought one to wear and then one to stock, and like then we started making a little group chat where there was like 5 or 6 of us from that drop where like they were chatting about going picking up other shoes, and like that's when I really realized like it isn't just about this one shoe that like I had a passion for. Like, there was more to this. From there, like it just kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it just snowballed really quickly. Like, the Jordan 1 Gym Reds dropped shortly after, like maybe a couple of months later, and that was my second pair. And then it just like I'd created an Instagram account. There was a WhatsApp group first, then there was an Instagram account, and then it just kind of like I just met more and more people. I kept going to meetups, like going camping out for shoes. We started going for drinks afterwards, and like it snowballed so quickly that like I don't really. It's just a bit of a blur, like how it all started, but it all stemmed from that one shoe, the Yeezy 350 Zebra that I still own today, and like it's just one of those shoes that, like, it kind of brings a smile to my face thinking about it because like it has shaped my whole life for the last 5 to 6 years.
I was gonna ask. I mean, because that I think that that came out in like 2017,
But
18.
it was 2017, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. That's a whirlwind. That is
It
definitely a whirlwind in terms of the time from what's happened then to now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of crazy because like I feel like so many people like grown up in like the sneaker culture. Like, I speak to so many people and like they're like, I remember when I was a kid and my parents had sneakers, or I was like 10 or 11 and I remember buying my first Jones. Like, I didn't have any of that. Like, the
Mm,
only reason I was interested was like I listened to Kanye's music. Like, that was the kind of thing I was into. Like, I kind of lived a very sheltered upbringing where that wasn't really like sneakers and fashion weren't really big in Wigan. It's a small town like up in the north.
mm.
So like it was just one shoe that really caught my attention and that I really liked. And then from there, I was like thrust into a community and a scene that I really didn't know much about, and that I was kind of on the outside of. Like, if I had started my own thing, and like I'm sure we're gonna get into that, but like if I hadn't created my own community and my own framework, like I really don't know if it would have been something I would have carried on with.
I hear that. I hear it. And you're saying that, and I mean, obviously, we definitely will dive a little deeper into that, but let's just broach that subject just slightly. Are you saying that because it seemed to be essentially like there was a lot of criteria to feel like you were really part of the community, or was it you didn't have enough kicks to feel like a legitimate member of
Well,
what was it? What was it that made you feel that way?
it sounds crazy, but like everyone just seems to have such a deep rooted knowledge of everything in sneakers. Like, and I appreciate like
Yeah.
from my point of view that like it's a bit different, but like you go to these pit drops or pickups and everyone's chatting about like shoes from 10 years ago and do you know who designed them and all this stuff, like the all cultural significance of all this stuff, and like when you're coming into it, like so much of this is like it's really daunting. Like it's super like intimidating to have to go to a pickup and like introduce yourself and meet people. Like, I know some people just will never do that, so that's like I'll be honest, like that was something that really got me interested in sneakers because like there is like it's not just about the material side of it, it's about the
Mm.
like the cultural relevance and the history of it, and that's something that I really like. There's something that captivated me, but I know for others is a really like it's almost a barrier to entry for sneakers.
No, I get where you're coming from because I think, especially when it comes to kicks and when you're talking about the passion of the people involved, they are super passionate. We're nerds essentially. I mean, for want of a better term, I don't even know if that's
I
still
relate to
PC.
it.
I think, yeah, for real, I think we've claimed it back. I think it's one of those ones where we've made it a positive. Ultimately, we're so precious when it comes to these things, and because of that, it can become a little like silly in terms of how
Well,
we act or the things that we do, and the lengths that will go in terms of that passion. But I think like that is literally, you could look at any subculture, any niche in the world, and you're gonna find exactly the same people. I think it's
I
just
was really fortunate to just
characteristic.
meet the right people that day. Like
Yeah.
I stood in the queue. Well, we were like sat down in front of Foot Locker, to be honest, and like we were just chatting, and like they kind of like they kind of like took me under their wing and like really introduced me to a scene that I completely like oblivious to. So like I owe a lot to like that camp out culture, which again like that camp out culture doesn't exist anymore. Like everything's so online. So I was very lucky to kind of capture the perfect moment where like camping out for sneakers in 2017, 2018. It was like a dying age for that kind of stuff.
Oh,
So like
without a doubt.
it was just really well timed for me, and I'm super grateful that like I had those experiences because that's kind of brought me to where I am now.
No, that's definitely a vibe. Um, you kind of mentioned it already, but we'll talk a little bit about it. You grew up in Wigan. That's in the good old north. The sort of like the steely, cold north in the UK. When I think of the north, I always think of that program that was on TV, the one that was super popular, the one with all the dragons and stuff.
Dragon's Den. What?
No, not dragons. Then
What? Dragon.
that does have a lot of dragons, but
Yeah.
I was thinking about the one that had that guy Jon Snow. What's the name of that program?
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. You think the
That's
King of
not
the
where
North?
my brain was. I was. You were on a different tangent to me, man.
I was on a different wave when I was thinking of the dragons. But like I always love hearing people's stories about where they came up and especially the kicks that were prevalent, the kicks that were popular. And I know obviously that's a fairly recent thing. I mean, recent-ish. But like when you look back in your mind's eye and you think about what was on people's feet at certain times in that area, what were you kind of seeing? What were the kind of shoes that were
So
popular?
Wigan geographically is between Manchester and Liverpool. So we're about half an hour one way, about 40 minutes the other way. So we're in this really weird niche area where like it's still 95 territory because it's like outskirts of Merseyside, Liverpool, like there's really heavy into
Massive
their
shoe.
110s. But then you've
Massive.
also got like that Manchester side where they're more they went through a stage in like the 2018 when I was working at Foot Asylum. Every day we'd get restocks of the React Element 55. I don't know if you remember that shoe. And they would sell out. Like we'd have men buying like two or three different colorways at a time. Like that,
Element
yeah,
55s.
they were a shoe that like was super popular up there. Air Force
So
One,
that's so
like
that's where they were being sold.
they were the shoes like everyone was wearing, and like I always say this to people, like it was such a weird place because we have like that Merseyside like 95, 97, like those kind of Air Max culture, but then it also kind of niched in with like more Manchester side of things where there was a lot of like Adidas terrace shoes and people buying like Gazelles, plus the
Mm-mm-mm.
Air Force One and the React Element 55. Like it's just a very like it's a very middle ground area where it's influenced by a lot of like regional people, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
like there wasn't really defining shoe. Like I wouldn't say like there's a shoe that's particularly defining for like where I was, and I don't really remember much from that. But I remember when I
Mm-hmm.
went to Foot Sound, like they were the shoes that like people would come in and be asking for like every day.
Oh, Element 55s is wild, man.
There
That
was a,
shoe,
there
no, I was
was a,
just gonna say that shoe, like when it came on the scene, like it had the bill, or it had the billing, I should say, of this is gonna be one of them ones. Like it had that feeling from a lot of people, like, oh, this is gonna be one of them ones. It was everywhere, and then literally someone flipped the switch and it was done.
There was a black and red colorway, and I remember like we sold out of it in like 2 days or whatever else. And then like the next week, they were sending shoes from other stores, like the bigger stores, like Trafford Centre and Liverpool, and like they were sending them to our store in Wigan because like we were selling them the fastest. Like it was just one of those
Wow.
shoes that like it flew for us, but again, like you saw them all the time, like in the town center and stuff. So I
Mm.
think it was just like it hit them because other people were wearing them, like they wanted them, but it didn't last. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like a long term thing. I just remember like that shoe had was like hotcakes.
For real, that's a literal hotcake. It was a trendy shoe for a period in time, and then it literally went. But like, I mean, especially when I think about sort of like the strides that were made in terms of the comfort and stuff, I felt it really hit. Like I felt like it hit at a good time, but
Well,
just maybe it just didn't have the longevity they thought.
it had they also released the MX 270 around the same time, and then we create
Yeah,
the React 270, and I feel like that
yeah.
was the natural progression of footwear where you had like that really soft like foam sole with the Air Max at the back. Like they were really comfy shoe, and so many
It's a
people
good
came
shoe.
in to buy them. The problem was is that I feel like the momentum gets lost a lot of the time where you just see repeat after repeat colorway. Like there was a lot of shoes where like they kind of don't age well as well. Like they don't look good after a couple of wears because the materials that we use. So I feel like the problem with shoes like that is that like there's no like longevity. Like if you're gonna buy a leather
Yeah,
shoe, they're gonna last for a couple of years. Like
this is it.
that stuff doesn't last if you're wearing it day to day.
No, that's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. There's a question I always ask my guests, and it's really because of the trauma I experienced as a kid, and I just try and project that onto other people and see if other people suffered in a similar
I'm
fashion.
here to take a little bit of it.
So, I call this question unholy grails. And an unholy grail for some people, first and foremost, actually, I'm not going to explain. I'm just going to ask you, have you heard of the term unholy grail?
I haven't, but I'm sure you're gonna educate
I
me.
will educate. An unholy grail is essentially an off-brand shoe, something that you might get in a Sports Direct, maybe a Slazenger, an Everlast, Lonsdale, Dunlop, those types of brands, those types of shoes, things that I've frequented in the past for what for whether I wanted to or not. Did you ever have to dabble in the dark arts and go through some unholy grails?
So I'll be honest, like a lot of that part of my life is now boxed off in a place that I don't think about anymore. Like this is going into like these are going to pictures that my mum would bring out to Christmas parties, and
You
I wouldn't know
segregated
nothing
it.
about. Yeah,
You pushed.
my nan and like shout out to my nan because she's still about. She still does this now. Like she likes to buy like little presents, and one of the things she used to do as a kid, like she'd buy me like cheap shoes because they'd be like, oh, a fresh pair of shoes is better than like a good pair of shoes. And I remember like I don't even know what brands they are, but I remember having some absolute howlers of shoes that I never ever got out. Like even when I was like 13, 14, like there was stuff you couldn't wear into school because they were like that atrocious.
I hear
But
that.
it's
I hear
also
that.
like I couldn't even tell you what brands they are. Like they'd be like super low quality, like those. I can't even like they would be Dunlop's like Slazenger and stuff, and like
Yeah.
they'd never see the light of day. But I remember like you'd have to wear them when the family came around just to be like, oh, I'm sporting the shoes my nan
Just
bought me. Like,
yeah.
yeah, we've all
Because you
been
don't want
there.
that. Yeah, you don't want anyone to feel bad. Like you got them. Someone got you a gift. You want to make them feel good.
It
I
took
get it,
years
man.
of training for to now buy me like one present every once in a while. That like it doesn't have to be anything big, but like she'll treat me every once in a while, but it'll be something that like she knows I want. Where in the past it
Yeah.
was always like, oh, I got you something, and then you'd have to like fake smile as you open a box, and you're just like, oh, I wish you'd saved your money because I not to be disrespectful, like I didn't grow up in a rich household, so like I kind of appreciated like I appreciate what I had, but it was also a case of like I appreciate that she was spending money she didn't have. So like it kind of was a double edged sword where like I didn't necessarily want it, and I knew that she'd gone out of her way to buy it, and with love and care. But like I did feel like sometimes like a lot of that stuff just was it just got put in a
Yeah, it's
pile and
tough.
ended up like going to car boot or
Yeah,
whatever it was, like, and
yeah.
just
I've
disappeared.
done that. I've never been good when it comes to being able to sort of give my true opinion on a gift because I always think about like the effort that person's gone to and the love that they're trying to show me through the gifts. And I'm always like, if I weigh everything up and I'm like, even though I know I'm not going to wear it, I know it's not going to make them feel good if I tell them I don't like it. So I always
And this is the
end up,
problem, like, and then you end
yeah,
up with loads of stuff that you don't necessarily
that you
want
don't
or
want.
need.
Yeah.
And like,
And then you,
it's a hard thing to breach because like you also don't want to throw it away, you don't want to get rid of it because like it might come in handy
this
one
is it.
day. Like I like,
This is it, man.
yeah,
That's the difficult balance as well because it's like when's the statute of limitations? How long do you hold on to it before you can just throw it away? Before someone saying, where's that trainer I bought you
yeah, it's
4 years ago?"
under the bed. You're like, I'm saving it for a special occasion.
You get me? Deflect, deflect, deflect. All right, bro. Let's get into your collection, man. This is part of the cover I like to refer to as the EST of KIC. And when I say EST, I mean the est, the oldest, the newest, the best, the rarest, greatest, all of that jazz. In terms of your current day collection, things that you wear right about now. So yeah, bro. In your current collection, what's the oldest shoe?
So I kind of have to premise this. Like, I moved to London in December. My rotation is currently in storage because I moved down here. I live in a one-bedroom like apartment now, so that, like I don't have the space for my collection. So my current
Respect.
collection revolves around 5 pairs. Like I have a pair of Jordans. I have the Jordan 1 Obsidian. I have a pair of Nike SB Firecrackers. I have the Travis Scott Air Max, and I have a pair of Adidas Foot Patrol Sambas. They're the only shoes that I have in my collection, and I'll be honest, if we can talk about everything that's back home, I got like 140 pairs of shoes, and like I can go ham with that. But like my current rotation is very much just shoes that I wear day to day, and it's a solid rotation that I can wear with all my clothes, and like I just had to select a few pairs I like. I enjoy and I like to wear, but I'm also like I couldn't warrant bringing down like my Louis Vuitton Air Forces, which like I'm only ever going to get them out like once or twice. Huge pair, but you'll never. They're not a shoe that I can rotate, so like they just have to go in storage and like.
Never. Okay, so I mean, I completely understand what you're saying in regards to sort of your wider collection. I'm happy for you to sort of include that in what we're talking about, because ultimately they're your shoes, right? And that's what we're here to talk about, you, right? So no, I appreciate that. But let's flip that on its head and let's say, what's the most recent kit you've purchased?
Recent kick I got the MXDN from End. So they had an event yesterday. They did a swap it out, so I handed in a pair of MX drifts that didn't fit. They're a size 10 and I'm a 10.5, slightly too tight. They traded them in for the MXDN, which is dropping on MX Day tomorrow. Very, very nice shoe. Took some fit pics in them yesterday. They are they're just it's nice to see some new technology, some kind of some excitement in the MX range again, because I feel like it has kind of gone quiet since the 270. So like I'm very grateful to have them, and I got them early, so always a nice thing to be able to flex an early pair.
Well, that is definitely a vibe, man. Shout out to N. I'm a big fan. Yeah, man, the Air Max DN is a very interesting shoe to me, because I actually do agree in the sense that I do like the innovation. I like the sort of homage to the deluxe as well, and sort of like the heritage of the Air Max, but also sort of the modernization of it and the switching up of the air unit as well, and the individual bubbles and stuff. The collaborations that have already been sort of spoken about, and some of the colorways look really, really cool.
I think the rollout has been really, really sharp on it.
Well, this is what I wanted to say. Like, I mean, my head's in two camps. Yeah, number one, and I've leveled this at brands, especially Nike in the past. I've said that if you want us to think a shoe is important, you need to roll it out in a proper way. You need to communicate that in as clear a way as possible, whether that be through events, whether that be through collaboration, whether that be through marketing. You need to find a way to communicate to your consumer that it is an important shoe. This is something that we're getting behind as a brand, and you should invest your time, your energy, and your money ultimately in that. But on the other end, with all of these events, with all of this marketing, with all of this information, I'm thinking, wait, what's going on? Are they just shoving this thing down my throat? What is happening? So, right? So I'm caught in two minds as to what the shoe is. I do like the shoe though. I do like the shoe, although I've not put it on. I like how it looks, but yeah, I'm caught in two minds with it.
I completely agree with you on the rollout system. So like the problem with the shoe is that like you kind of get like a fatigue if you see it too often. So like you get this thing where like, and I get this a lot with like hype shoes as well, where like you see the leaked images, you see the people who've got them early, you then see a sample pair, you then see a different version, then you get another image which is like a blurry one from the factory, then you get the images as they like turn up later on, then you end up with the store images, and then you finally see the shoe in hand, and by that time like the shoe kind of doesn't match your expectation anymore. I feel like with this like the rollout has been quite fast, so like I was quite impressed. Like Clint got it first. He had the drop with the Cortez when he did the Cortez lookbook. That was the first time we saw it.
Yeah.
Then we saw it when he had the silver Friends of Family Supreme pair in hand. The Supreme pair dropped, which I actually got in hand, but I never got myself. So that I kind of had it in hand, and it had only been like a couple of days, like maybe a week or so after like finally seeing the images. Like it was quite a quick rollout. Then we've had the Diane Carr boot. We've seen all these images of all the other colorways that are coming, and then now we have MX Day tomorrow. Like I feel like it has been a decent timeline in comparison to some other rollouts that they've had, and the people who've endorsed the shoes been really good. My big worry is that like the hype has come, like the shoe is here. I think that we're probably going to see 6 months of this, and then it's going to disappear again, because no matter how Nike roll out a shoe, there's a longevity issue and all this stuff where you just see so much and you just get to that point where like the shoe naturally kind of falls off, and then it takes 5 years, 10 years to kind of get a nostalgia about it, and then you'll see it again. Like I'm really imagining like 3-4 years time we see like an Air Max 270 bring back, where they like look back at that shoe, because like if you look at the timeline of a lot of the older Air Max, it takes 5 to 10 years for them to really gain like that infamous status, and that shoe was a massive moment back then. So I don't see why the DN will follow a similar trajectory.
I definitely want to touch on the 270 because I completely agree with that shoe, especially during lockdown. That shoe was an absolute workhorse. You saw that shoe everywhere. Anytime I went to Asda or Sainsbury's, literally every single person working in the shop was wearing a 270, and it's a testament to how comfortable that shoe was. It's an Air Max, super popular shoe, super popular silhouette, super clean. Right, the colorways were great. One thing they didn't do with the 270, they didn't really put any marketing behind it, any real marketing, and no collaborations.
Nope, it was a completely natural thing where
people just gravitated to the shoe. Yeah. And the thing is, when you have a natural win, as you said, you need to then smell what's selling.
Yeah,
that's what Alan Sugarwood says on The Apprentice. You smell what sells, you start jumping on, and you start saying, you know what, let's get a really cool collaboration going. No 270 collaboration, and
we had
people might. Well, this is it, but that's a 270 React, and we know obviously that's a slightly different shoe.
Yeah, right? it is slightly different, but I do feel like that was like the peak of the 270, and it dropped off since. But I don't see why in 5-10 years time we don't go back to that and be like, oh, I don't know, maybe Nocta does a 270. Like they're picking up a lot of like the older silhouettes.
That's true. That's true. That would be a good fit.
Yeah, I don't see why we don't see this, and like I know the 270 for sneakerheads might not be the it shoe, but I think that for a lot of like the mass general population, it really was. So that
really was.
And this is how I look at the DN. I look at it very much in the same terms. Like if you look at the MXTN, it took 5-10 years to really gain that cult status. If you look at the MX97, it hit real hard very quick, and then it dipped off again, and it took a good while before it really became like a heritage shoe. I think exactly the same thing will happen with the DN. Like it's going to be one of the shoes where people will look back in 5 years time like the crepe car boot, that was sick. Like I'm not gonna lie, the MX DM rollout, Soldier Boyfriend, I remember when they did the Cortez drop, oh my god, like that was crazy. Like I think people look back in 5 years and be like, that was like a moment in streetwear and moment in footwear. But I do think that like there's an impending doom of this shoe already, like before it's even come out.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I mean, and it's unfair on the shoe. To be frank.
I think most silhouettes go through this.
Yeah, and I think it's part of a sort of almost a natural life cycle for certain shoes, especially shoes from brands the size of Nike, because you can quite clearly see they're very excited about the shoe, and
it's a product of innovation. So if you look back to like the 2000s and the 90s and 2000s, people used to buy shoes based on what was like the latest tech, like the latest basketball
100%.
shoe. People buying like LeBrons and Kobe's and all these shoes because that was a shoe that had like the latest tech. That was the shoes that the basketballers were wearing. Now we've gone through what I could say like the retro revolution. I just coined that term right now. By the way.
That is a fantastic term for this period that we're in.
People like they want to buy Jordan 1s, Jordan 3s, Air Maxes. They want to go back to like the retro shoes that like people
Sambas.
Yeah, these shoes are classic silhouettes, but they're not technology. They're not the forefront of technology. They're very much a shoe that like they're stylish. They kind of have like a nostalgia to them, and that's why people are really gravitating to. Now we're like things are going full circle, and we've got like the Alpha Fly 3, which is like a running shoe. That's one of those popular shoes that Nike is selling at the minute, and it's a marathon shoe. Like the people are going back to that like technology age where
it's a super technical shoe. Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
not buying shoes for the aesthetics because they can't afford it, and that's not to say that people aren't buying Jordans because they are. But like they're now buying shoes that like are multi-purpose. They're buying shoes that are super comfy. They're buying shoes that they can wear to the gym. They can wear to walk their dog. They're not like cumbersome. They're kind of stylish, but they're not overly stylish. They're not out there. And then that's kind of the shoe that is like the most important for people right now. And I kind of feel like the MXDN kind of suits that because that's where the consumer is really going to right now.
I think you surmised that really, really well, man. And I think it's great, man, from your perspective, considering obviously you get to see things from a slightly different lens. You have your community lens, but also you've got the business side of things where you're dealing directly with brands and you're seeing essentially the mindset behind some of these rollouts and the mindset behind how they're communicating to the consumer on the importance of certain silhouettes. From that perspective, like, what is your what are your takeaways in terms of like what Nike has been doing, what Adidas has been doing, especially like with the Sandbar and some of the collaborations that are coming out that I'm seeing as well. Like, what's your perspective on those things?
So as you probably know, like I've met a couple of people from the industry, and like I always find it interesting because like I kind of come at this from the bottom up. Like I see the consumer and I look at it as like what can we do for the community so that benefits them, and the guys at the top are like, how do we sell more product? So we end up in this like really weird squish point in the middle where the people at the bottom aren't happy, and like the community always kind of, they want access to product, they want like they want to be more in touch with the brands, and the guys at the top of the brands, like they want to do community outreach, but they don't have the budget for it because the product of a brand is to sell product. Like that is at the end of the day, like that's the most important part of their business. So you end up in this like squish point where like there's no money to do real outreach, there's no like real motivation to kind of like touch base with some of these people because like they don't need to, like they know if they're going to sell most shoes that they'll just sell out. So it's a really interesting place where like I speak to all these guys and like they would love to do more stuff, and I feel like that's the one thing I take away from most of these brands. Like they really do want to do like more events, they want to get in, like they really want to push the ball out, they want to connect with the community. But I find like so many of these brands now, especially with the recession that is like right here, like they're struggling so much, and like we're seeing it in like footwear in general. Like so many of our community have disappeared, like to go do other things. They're sorting out their lives with house renovations and stuff, because like it's now a choice of between buying footwear and doing other things, and like that's where like everyone seems to be in this crunch point.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and it's completely fair. The way that people over the years have sort of like indulged in their whether it be collections or whether it be passions or the things that they like, in times of austerity, these are the times where we're going to realize, okay, maybe I'm going to have to sort of put my big boy pants on and figure out how to spend my money more judiciously.
I don't want to get too political with this, but COVID was a very unique time. So basically what happened
Super
is that,
unique.
like everyone was sat at home, everyone was buying shoes, everyone was getting like 80% of their paycheck given to them by the government. It was just a time when people could indulge, and it was the brands weren't really having to do much like on the ground marketing. Like it was very much a case of like everyone just had money and it was like artificial. So the money instead went to the people who were, to the brands that were selling the product, but also going to the resale side of things as well. So we saw a massive boom in like this kind of like sneaker bubble where everything was just all this
massive bubble.
And then it's popped now, and all these brands that have made loads of products because that they was used to this, like they were kind of selling 10 times more than they used to. So a lot of these brands had like kind of got to like this COVID level where everyone was used to this new kind of rich feel, and then now we're in this complete opposite, and it's kind of taken a lot of people like broadside. Like when you speak to a lot of these brands, they're like, oh yeah, we're having to lay off staff, like that our head office team's kind of getting smaller, and like a lot of these brands are like they're kind of buckling down now because they know it's going to be a long couple of years where we're not going to have like the same sneakerhead feeling. I feel like that it's something that the community is really struggling with on our side as well, where like it is a choice of whether you're buying a pair of sneakers or if you're like taking your family out for dinner or whatever, and like that's obviously the priority is quality of life, not necessarily sneakers.
No, I completely get where you're coming from. And then obviously kicks like the trophy rooms come out just a few days. And it's like even though the shoe's like fairly competitively priced considering what the shoe is, like what the shoe represents, especially given what you were talking about in regards to that bubble that literally has now burst. It's a very, very controversial shoe.
So my opinion on the trophy room is quite funny because like you look at the price of the trophy room at 145, like £145 retail, and you look at the quality of the materials, you look at the satin toe, you look at the little gold piece on the back, and you look at the box, which is a completely unique box. Mine are in the post at the minute. There's a pair of them, but they are a very nice shoe. But you look at the quality of that shoe for £145, and you think, why isn't Nike doing that level of quality on a normal shoe, which they're still releasing for £145?
Can I give you a reason, James? This is just me throwing something out there. I think these shoes are an apology
for the last ones.
I'm being honest, bro. I think these shoes are an apology. And shout out to my boy Ade. These are not my pair. He let me have these. I was filming yesterday, and I thought I'd hold on to them. But yeah, I feel like these shoes are an apology for what Trophy Room has been accused of. I mean, nothing's been substantiated, but
we
I
all know
feel like
it's
these shoes are. Yeah, of course. I mean, it is what it is. But like the amount of effort and energy that's been put into this shoe and at this price point doesn't really make sense.
So
Considering,
I know the answer from like the brand perspective, but my perspective is very different. And like this is kind of how I see it. Like when I speak to a lot of people, I don't think they sometimes understand this. Like the brand sell these as a loss lead, so they will the markup on that shoe is like they're selling that shoe probably for like less than they would make profit on a normal shoe. But the hype behind that Jordan 1 low means that they'll sell other Jordan 1 lows, which will make up the difference. And I appreciate that like that's the way the brands look at it. But I look at it from the point of like, if you can go to the effort to make a shoe of that quality, and then you're going to give us like some cardboard, like piece of leather, like Panda Dunk, how can you then expect us to pay the same amount of money? Like for the average consumer, like that shoe is going to last you 3 to 4 times longer than your on average standard pair of Dunks, and that shoe's costing me the same amount. Like I just I can't understand like the logic in that, because if you were to buy a more premium quality shoe like a New Balance, which is like maybe 40 quid more, like 180, 200 quid. But I know that the materials are better, they're made by hand, like the shoes,
quality made shoe. Yeah.
The shoes together. Like I'll be honest, the only thing that New Balance are missing in the equation is height. So if you look at quality materials, craftsmanship, the only thing New Balance is doing differently to Nike is the fact they don't have like the hype behind them. Like that's for me, like that is kind of the big question right now. Like the Trophy Room is great, but why can't Nike do that on like an average GR release and make everyone happy?
Do you know what I heard, James? And this has been unsubstantiated, so this might just be rumors and innuendo.
We love a rumor.
Right? We love a little bit of a rumor. Somebody said, and I don't know if this is possible, somebody sent to me on Instagram, because I had a little rant on Instagram about the fact that I didn't get the trophy rooms.
Yeah, I saw that. Bro, we all feel it.
Right. And then someone sent me a DM saying, considering that I'm a size 12, they were like, bro, like, apparently there was only 2,000 pairs in the whole of the EU.
I have the stock list in the Urban Syndicate Discord, so I can see how much stock was. Do you want to check right now?
That'd be so sick. That'd be so sick. We are finding out right now. Because I don't know whether it's real. Like what that guy was telling me, 2,000 in the whole of the EU sounds wild. If it was 2,000 in the UK, that would still sound wild. But possible.
You're looking about like I got to do the math because we like they're all numbered. So like when we do a stock list, we get like all the sizes split up, and then they're in EU. So like you actually get like the different sizes. So like in a UK,
that isn't those numbers are not massive though.
No. So like in a 12, you're looking at like 68 pairs for the whole of the EU. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
possible.
You're looking at about between like 1.5 to 2,000 pairs.
Wow, no, you know what? You're probably it's a guy with. I'm saying, like, shout out to my man. Shout out to my man.
My thing is like these shoes aren't meant for the average consumer, and I appreciate that. Like they kind of they depend upon the on like the hype machine that comes with it that kind of leads you to buy other pairs that are like dress downs. Like I don't know if you remember when the Off-Whites dropped and then they did the Move to Zero MX90, which was like a dress down of the Off-White 90. Like you'll see now that there'll be loads of like very similar shoes to the Trophy Rooms that people will buy as like a consolation prize.
Absolutely, bro. When the Mocha Travis Scott's dropped, how long was it before the Jordan 1 Mochas dropped, the dark Mochas dropped?
They were.
You get me?
So that shoe did take a while to get here, but the demand was so high because we hadn't seen like that mocha color. So like now we've had the Palominos, and we're now getting the mocha coffee, like the lighter colored ones that drop in like next month or whatever. But like at the time, there'd been no brown suede Jordan 1, so like the demand was so high.
Yeah, they were feeding for brown. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of how the marketing has to go. Like it has to be like hype shoe, and then you wait a little bit, and then you just get like the dress. Do you remember when they did the Jordan 1 Zoom straight after the Dior's? So you had the Dior Jordan 1, and then they had like that Zoom one, which had like the little grey plastic piece.
It was literally the same It was the same Pantone, bro. It was the same
the exact same
grade.
colors. It was just
It
like
was the same grade.
a million times worse. And I was just like, they don't even hide it because it even had like what's it called, like the translucent sole.
So
Yeah. And I just like it was literally.
I got the shoe. I got the shoe. I was that guy, bro. I was like, bro.
But that's how they
obviously I missed out. No, they smashed it. They smashed it. I knew a few people that got that shoe because when you saw the colors, and the thing is, when you see the colors in hand, you were like, nah, yeah. This is very close.
Yeah.
And this is gonna but the thing is you get to a point where you realize, this is like a plaster on a massive wound. This isn't really gonna satiate like what I'm really feeling.
So,
but for some people it might do.
I think some people don't. This is gonna sound really bad as well. I think some people don't really know the difference. Like a lot of it is like you speak to the average sneakerhead who's in the street, like, and I'm talking about like not like us because like we're
I get you. But
like,
you know it's hard though. But you're absolutely right.
How many people see a grey Jordan 1 and they just think it's another grey? Like I remember, I was sat with Moses actually in London Sneaker Club, and someone
shout out to Moses
and London Sneaker Club guys. And some guy walks in and buys like a Jordan 1 Royal for like £500. Like it's like a crazy 2017. Like that shoe is like it was the OG colorway, like super a pair that I'd love to have in my collection, but I'm not willing to pay £500 for. And he just like shoved it on foot straight away. Didn't know the difference. Like he just bought the shoe because he liked the shoe. Like it was like there was no second thought about it. Like he didn't like it. Isn't like sometimes I think we look at it in a very specific way because we understand. Where most people look at the shoe as like it's the right color, it looks the same, it functions the same. Like the difference between the 1,700 it was for Dior and the 170 quid it was for the Jordan 1 Zooms. Like like for the average consumer, I just don't think it matters.
Nah. I think you're probably right. Like I've never heard anyone put it like that, but it's true. Most people don't know. Most people can't tell, and most people don't care as well. Like it is what it is because ultimately what they're talking about, what we're talking about sneakers, we're talking about kicks, we're talking about the thing that is at the forefront of our lives. And to them, it's just like, no, those are the things that I put on before I go to the gym. Or
people take sneakers too seriously. Like
this is it.
Like especially for like the average consumer. Like I speak to a lot of my friends and they'll message me like, I'm after a pair of Jordan 1 red ones, and they mean Chicago's like that. That's what they want because like they kind of know about it. But like for your average consumer, like back home or whatever, like they don't actually like appreciate or understand like the significance and the reason that they cost what they do. So they're quite happy to get like a Jordan 1 mid in the same colorway, or if they're happy to go for like a Jordan 1 but a gym red instead of a Chicago. Like the color blocking is very similar, the colors are the same. It's just a variation of the same shoe, and like I think for 90% of people, like they just kind of enjoy being part of it, but they don't necessarily want to be like they don't take it seriously as us. Like we are authentic in what we do and what we like, and the shape bothers us and the colorways bother us, but for most people it really doesn't matter.
And and to be honest, I think if everyone was like these niches and sub communities and cultures, I don't even think anyone would leave the house. So I think it's probably fair. It's the right way around.
Sneakers is really weird because like we actually do kind of bridge between like what I would consider like I'm gonna use the word normie, but like normie streetwear guy who like lives day to day, and like us who's like devout streetwear fanatic. Like I feel like the bridge between that is very, very slim. So like there's some people who like they because everyone's passionate about shoes in some capacity, or like most people are. Like I feel like it's a really easy gateway to get into, and I feel like that's kind of where we struggle with. Like you see people who kind of jump in and jump out quite regularly, but like if you were to talk about something like Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z or something like this, like there's a steep learning curve to kind of understand. And like again, like we get a lot of this where like people are hating or they're saying all these things at the comment sections of an Instagram post, but it's actually they just like they don't understand how deep most people are into it. And then on the other hand, most people don't appreciate how like new and how easy it is to just kind of find yourself deep down the rabbit hole.
No, you're absolutely right, man. It's very, very easy to jump in. So yeah, bro, let's get a little deeper in the rabbit hole ourselves, man. What most comfortable pair? Like if you're just running out your house and you're just grabbing a pair of shoes and you're not thinking about fits or anything like that, you're just grabbing a pair of shoes just because maybe they're right next to the door.
I got the New Balance 2002 Rain Clouds. We're like right at the door right now. Like this shoe that goes with everything as well because they're grey, so like they're just a super easy shoe to wear.
I'm going to ask you a question, and it is definitely a difficult one, so apologies ahead of time. And just throw your mind back to, imagine if all of your shoes were in the same house. Imagine this,
I wish.
right? Big house, right?
Room just for
Right.
shoes.
Your house is on fire and you can only grab one. What you taking?
My Jordan 1 Fragment Black Toes.
Yeah, that's a fantastic shoe.
So,
I love
yeah.
that Fragment Travis, bro.
No, I've got the original 2014 Black Toe pair, so I didn't get the Travis pair. I've got the one before that, like the original.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I got the original.
Oh, wow. It's even deeper.
Yeah, it's a shoe that like when I actually wore it to sneakerness, probably maybe the day you met me, or the day you did meet me.
Yeah, for real. The day we,
People kept stopping me to take photos of the shoe, and other people like, what's the deal with that guy's shoe? Like it was one of those shoes where like, because it's such a plain shoe, like it's only got the little fragment stamp. 9% of people have no idea what it is, but the 10% of people who do are like, oh geez, I've never seen that shoe, or like that shoe's so like it's so common now. Like I've only worn it twice. Like it's one of those shoes where like if you get them out, they're for a special occasion.
Oh, that's it. That's very, very sick, man. Yeah, man. That threw me off for a second. I was thinking, oh, you're talking about the Travis. Yeah, man. No, there definitely was something that happened, but man, that's it.
They're a shoe that like I love because they don't have that wow factor that a lot of the shoes do. Like so many people bring out a pair because they're like, oh, that's crazy. That's a shoe that like it's a conversation starter because if you've noticed a shoe and you know what it is, that kind of like that's almost a barrier to entry. Like,
100%, because that literally is essentially that's an entrance exam. For want of a better.
Yeah,
it's like you know what shoes are wearing, we can chat. This is where we are right now. Then we can continue that conversation.
It's quite funny. So many people like came up to me that day, and like after someone else had asked me for a photo, the shoes would be like, "You'll be like, what shoes are they?" Like, oh, they wanted to like actually ask, and I was like, I'm always here to like discuss shoes and like talk about the history and stuff. Like, but I do find like that is one of those shoes that like I love the fact that most people have no idea what's going on with that shoe.
That's very, very cool, man. Let's chat a little bit about the Urban Syndicate. Obviously, you're the founder, right? Is that the proper term?
I struggle with this because I used the word founder for a while, then I used CEO, but people didn't like that. And like fair play, like I don't like. It is it's hard to navigate these walls because like everyone has an opinion on stuff. So like I don't mind founder. I go between the two depending on what hat I'm wearing and where I am.
I think that's fair. I mean, it's usually a smart thing to have a couple hats that you can utilize depending on the function, because ultimately, if it is a community thing, founder kind of sounds like homely and like we've created this thing for us all to enjoy. But if you're in a meeting or a business meeting, because founders they're not always part of the business, right?
Yeah.
It could be a founder and not be part of the actual day-to-day. Easily, especially nowadays, things are real cutthroat, bro. So yeah, CEO sometimes sends a different message, and sometimes it's important to do that. But just give me some understanding as to sort of when it started, how it started, and like where we are today in terms of your membership and that sort of thing.
So originally we'd start off as a WhatsApp group. This is a long while back, like 2017. Then we became an Instagram group called Manchester in a Circle. That was like the kind of founding bedrock of where I started like getting into sneakers properly. Like we'd gone from a WhatsApp group, which was like 30, 40 people deep, onto Instagram where like we were organizing meetups, we were kind of discussing shoe releases, like just kind of being in tune with the sneaker culture in Manchester. That carried on until 2019 when, due to a disagreement, there's a long story in that. But due to a disagreement, I left and created another group called Urban Syndicate, which then became national.
Okay.
And then I kind of took that on. Like I took a lot of lessons from the first group. Like I'll be honest, there's a lot of this like that I'd go back and change if I were to do it differently. Like I was only like 18 at the time, and I'm 23 now. Like there's so much that like has passed. But like, this whole community thing is crazy because like I've met so many people on the way, and they've really shaped who I am today. So I'm only grateful for the opportunity to like really like be involved like the person side of things in Manchester, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have the knowledge I have today. I wouldn't be able to share insights, and I wouldn't be able to run my group the way I do. So like it's very much been one of those things where like it started off in Manchester. It was an in-person thing. It moved to Instagram, and then from Instagram, like it then expanded now to like 15,000 followers on Instagram. Like we've slowly ventured onto Twitter and Twitter X, TikTok, but like I just my thing is that I never take these things seriously. Like Instagram's the bread and butter. I've always used Instagram. Like we have a Discord server with like 400 and something members. That's like a private members group where like that's where like the day-to-day stuff goes. That's where you see the stock numbers, and we look after everyone with like we do retail hookups where we try to like sort each other out with pairs. So if you want an SB and I want a Jordan, I would enter for the SB for you, you enter for the Jordan for me, and we kind of share entries, and we just kind of like we'll cultivate this atmosphere in there where like it's really homely, where people really have the opportunity to be like, there's certain shoes I will never go for, so I can offer my entries out and get them back, and like there's a solid group of like 100 guys in there who talk quite regularly, who are strictly just they're there for the banter and the people, but then they stick around for like the sneakers and stuff. Like the sneakers is like, I always say like it's based around the product, but it's for the people.
No, actually, yeah, that's really cool. So like, are you saying that essentially, like you'll enter for like raffles for each other?
So for the race at SB that just dropped, I entered for Randeep. Shout out Randeep, he is a good friend of mine. Like, so he wanted them really badly. I really want the Verdi dunks that are coming out, the Visties, the very bright Easter colored ones. So we've exchanged entries. So I entered for him. He's ended up copying. He ended up copying the trophy rooms as well. So he's on a bit of a streak at the minute. He's on a bit of a streak.
Like that.
I know that when the Visties come out, he's going to help me with them. So like, it's just one of those things where like I've probably copped more shoes for other people than I have from myself in some capacities. Like it's one of those things where like if I can help someone out and I know that like they're going to enjoy the shoe, they're going to wear it, then like we're quite happy. Like we just have a principle that if you buy a shoe from the group and you don't want it, you sell it back into the group for what you paid, and then we try and keep that like that circle of like keeping your rotation fresh and kind of looking after each other, but then also being able to help each other as well.
All right, so I mean, in terms of like, that's a massive point regarding, because money can be a massive issue, right? And especially when you've got like some really, really hot pairs that are moving for serious weight on the resale market. Is there a rule within the group that things are only sold for retail? Like what are the rules?
You've touched on probably the most contentious issue that the Urban Syndicate.
Bro, I get it.
There is like, and I'll be honest, like, there's a lot of people who will see this and be somewhat upset or feel wronged because of things that have happened in the past. Like this has been very much a working document where like we've been too strict, we've been too lenient, we've not had it right, we've made it right, we tried it, we've done loads of things. Like currently the rules go that it's very much like if you act in goodwill, then you can pretty much do what as you wish. Like if you buy a pair of off-white Jordan 4s and then now you're going to sell them, we wouldn't expect them to go for retail. You would sell them for market value, but then it'd be a case of like just don't kind of rip people off. It's very much a case like just don't buy as long as you're a collector. Like as long as you're buying to be part of the like collector community, as long as you're not trying to just profiteer and you're not trying to make a quick buck. That's kind of where we draw the line now. So it is. I'll be honest, it's a lot more wishy-washy now where like there is less defined rules, because in the past I'll be honest, in the past we call people resellers who haven't resold. Like I've made mistakes in that capacity, and like I'll be the first one to say like I've messed up and I'm sorry for that. But on the other side, like it's also really hard when like you see people cop and that shoe's being resold straight away, and like we've had instances where people have like had a shoe bought from them and then they've sold them. So like now we're like it is very much very much a working document, and like we try our best to manage these things. So now we know who's in the group. Like it's, as I said, it's like a private members group. There's about 100 super active guys in there who I trust and who we've spent the last 4 to 5 years getting to know. So it is a very different atmosphere to it has been in the past, but it was a long journey to kind of get to where we are now.
How do you sort of like legislate for people's collections in terms of like if somebody buys something for fair market value through the group, are you then checking 3 months, 4 months later to see that they still got the shoe?
So
Or do you literally just chalk it up?
So we have a rule where, like, if you buy a shoe from someone, you should wear it within a week, and they have a right to ask that. So, like, if they're selling you like a shoe or whatever, they can like chase up. But after, like, if they don't do it after a week, it's kind of like fair game. Like it,
As in wear it out, or just have a pic of them with the
like
shoe on their foot?
like wear it out. Like it's a case of like, and some people don't want that. Like some people think that's really overbearing and they don't want to do that. But some people would, if they're selling them a 400, 500 pound shoe. Some people like that kind of ability to be like, at least I know the shoe's been worn and it's been enjoyed. So like we have that as a rule, but it's not necessarily enforced like by everything and by everyone. I said like this is something that's really sticky because like I used to be a lot hardline on this. Then we had issues. There was actually someone in the group, and I'm not going to name names on this, but he went through a very traumatic experience, and he wanted to sell a load of shoes, and that kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things because he was diagnosed with like a serious health complaint. Like he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know how long he had to live. And then I had the issue of like if he wanted to sell his shoes, but he's a member of the community and he wants to like go do other things, like I can't be the guy who's like no. Like you can't do that. So then, like, I'll be honest, I've had a lot of like moral battles where I've really had to consider like all aspects of this. Where it's like it's great when you've got loads of money and the money isn't really an object. Because when I was living on my own, and that wasn't as big of a problem. But now, as a 23-year-old who's moved out, who's moved to London, who's like kind of experiencing life for himself, like I can kind of sympathize a lot more with those situations. And through these experiences, I've really learned a lot more, and now I'm a lot less hardline as where I was like maybe 3 years ago.
I hear that, bro.
People still think I'm crazy though, because like so many people like just their kicks do what you want, and like I appreciate that. Like Urban Syndicate isn't for everyone, but I do think like what we do works for the people who are in our group, and like that's what matters.
Well, yeah, I think that's another thing I was going to ask. I mean, ultimately, when you join the group, are you essentially agreeing to a certain set of guidelines or rules? Is that how it works?
So we split the group
in order for you to maintain that membership.
So we split the group into three places. So you have like verified or like verified member veteran. So the idea is like verified doesn't have access to all the channels. So like you can't see like the buy and sell channel and stuff. So once we get to know you, once you kind of like assimilate into the group, once you kind of like, if we realize that you're like one of the guys who is contributing, then you move up to member status where you can see all that stuff. But just as more of like a preventative safety measure, we introduce like a thing called verified, where like we can just kind of see who you are first. You can talk in the channel, in some of the channels, but not all of them. Then we can just kind of like get to know you, because I'd say I think I've met 100% of the people in the members channel now. Like I'm about enough. I've been to enough events. Like I've been to events from Glasgow down to like I think the further south I've been is like Exeter or Bristol or something. Like I've been up and down the country. Like I've met nearly everyone. Like it is very much a wholesome place when you know everyone and like you can kind of count on them. But then when you're trying to integrate new members and introduce them into the group, like that can be a bit of a sticking issue. So we've kind of had to create something over the last few years where like we can just get to know you, and you can refer people into the group as well. So like if you know someone who you're good friends with, who you think would be really good fit, like you can come in and like that. We can have like a voucher system as well.
If somebody breaks the rules, is it literally like a 3 strikes you're out sort of flex, or is there like certain? Or is it literally case by case basis?
Yeah, it doesn't. Really, I'll be honest. Like this again is one of those really contentious things where we've removed people too soon for things that we shouldn't have, and in the past we've let people slide where we shouldn't have. And like I've learned from so many of these things where we had an admin who was a bit boisterous, and we probably should have like curtailed that. But I was weak and I didn't say no, and I should have just like. I should have wrapped that up and sorted it out. And then we've also gone down the other route where like we've had members who've taken advantage or maybe done something which I think was crossing the line, and instead of giving them an opportunity to like settle it or to understand it, I was just like, okay, there's like 1 strike, you're out. So like now it is very much a case of like we just kind of discuss it and work it out. We have like we have a group called the Vets where we discuss like a lot of these things.
I respect
like,
that.
We kind of just talk it out, and like most of the time it's actually comes down to just misunderstanding. Like it is very much a case of like you talk to 2 or 3 people and you can like kind of see where the misunderstanding is, and you can usually mitigate or work something out. But I find that we've had so few issues in the last year or two now where like things have really calmed down. Like we had so many teething issues, and then now it's like we just kind of settled, and now we're established. Like the guys who are there, and the guys who like the things that I've kind of messed up are just bumps in the road along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had the opportunity to speak to Kieran Coyle.
Yes.
All that sneaks. I know that he writes for Urban Syndicate. I know he's a member as well, and he is a great guy. Do you like, obviously Australian but based in the UK? But is it only UK based? Is it worldwide? Where are we at with your world domination plans?
I wouldn't call. I think the UK is big enough for me right now. Like,
I hear that.
Okay, so I find that this is kind of crazy. Like, we started off as UK only, then we had a couple of people from Europe join us and a couple of people from America. So now, like, we're UK focused, but we have like international community. If that makes sense, like, it is very much a case of like there are people in there who don't necessarily use us for our raffle links, or they don't use us for our stock numbers, or whatever it is. Like, they just in there for the people, and like I actually rate that a lot. That like people just kind of like the opportunity to talk sneakers without having to have any like that extra bit. Like, they obviously must have their own groups where they're getting that information from, but like we are a UK based group, but we're a friend. At the end of the day, we're a friend group. Like, it's always been like, I know everyone in there, we're all good friends, so we help each other out. Like, it's very much people first, and that's the phrase we used to use a lot. Like, it has been a case of like, it's always just been about like helping the people get the shoes they want, and really really just kind of locking in that just community feel and that family feel. Because for me, like, the shoes don't really matter. Like, you can get access to most shoes if you're paying resale, or like if you miss one drop, you can get another one a couple of weeks later. But you kind of like, when you attend an event and you see 20 of your mates, like I was at the end event and there's about 15, 20 of us there. Like, that's what really matters. Like, when everyone's kind of like just having a good time, laughing, joking, having a few drinks, like that's what sneakers is for me. And I feel like that's kind of like, as I always say, like the product kind of the product is what it is, but the people make it.
100%. And I couldn't have said it any better. Like, I think on my Christmas special, Adam said it. Adam Roberts, shout out to Adam. He was defining sneakerhead, and he used a similar terminology. He essentially said it's an opportunity or a way in which you can build relationships with people. And I think it's important. We focus so much sometimes on the inanimate, on the object, that we lose focus on the actual person wearing the shoe. You forget about the guy or the girl wearing the actual shoe, and these are people that we can connect with and build relationships with.
I suffer from this a lot, where people come to me and they're like, "Oh, James, it's great to meet you," and I don't know who they are because they only post pictures of their shoes on Instagram. Like,
I've never seen.
Yeah, like, I've never seen your face before, and you're introducing yourself, and I love when people come and speak to me, and like I'm super grateful that like people feel that they can approach me, and like that we can open conversation like that. But I do find it sometimes kind of strange when like someone like they'll just speak to me as if I know them, and I've never actually seen their face. Like, they're just like a sneaker account.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. You get me? We're gonna start winding now. Thank you so much for just being so like open in regards to the Urban Syndicate, man. Because I can imagine, definitely, considering there are active members that are still there, people that are looking at it from the outside, looking in and trying to get some understanding as to how things work, the inner workings. I can imagine things can be a little techie at certain points, but I appreciate you just being sort of open and honest with that.
Yeah, like I'll be honest, like I said, like I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and like I think like so much of this is like you kind of like what I did when I was 18 and what I do now at 23 is like two very very different situations, and like you kind of go through this where like the people I've met along the way, the reason I am who I am today, like I'm very grateful to like I could shout like Andrew Dabbs and Darius, Indian Dreadhead, and a couple of others who like they've been in my circle now for like 4 or 5 years, and like they're the people who I turn to now because I know like no matter what happens, they always seem to have like that kind of like rational head on them, and they have the experience where like I don't necessarily have that. Like I've realized that a lot of the time like I need to speak to someone who has a bit more experience, can kind of like give me a bit of wisdom, so that now like I'm a lot more educated in how to like deal with these situations. Like you learn from these mistakes, and they can be heavy mistakes. Like
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that self awareness is very, very important in terms of leadership. Understanding what your strengths are, understanding what potential weaknesses are, or opportunities for you to get better at are really, really important skills in being able to sort of like grow as a leader. Whether it be in a community or whether it be in a culture or a business. Like, these are really, really important things. Would you say, like, in terms of like the length of time that you've been sort of dealing with the syndicate, do you have like one piece of advice or a lesson that you've learned? Anything other than what you've already said, because I don't want to force you to repeat yourself, but a lesson that you've learned or a piece of advice that you would say to anybody listening and watching, because obviously this platform is open to everybody.
If I
There
was
may be, somebody watching that might want some information in regards to how to start something like this. But what would you say?
if I was to start a community again, I would listen twice as much as I act. I think that's the one thing I'll take away from this. Like, I've been very quick on the draw to make decisions, which I've then later regretted quite heavily, just because like I feel like I've had to act instead of like sitting down, listening, understanding, and then kind of making a decision. And also, don't be afraid to say you don't know. Like, I feel like sometimes like you're expected to make a decision as the leader, or like or like people expect you to know exactly what to do in every situation. So you sometimes you just have to sit down and like, I don't really know what I'm doing right now. I need to like sit down, work it out, speak to a few people, like understand, because like that has hindered me a lot. And that, like now I understand, and now I feel like I can reflect on this better. But as someone who has made those mistakes quite a lot, yeah, they're the two pieces of advice I'd give back to myself.
Those are fantastic pieces of advice. And as I said, if there's anyone watching out there that's thinking about following in a similar line to what James has done, or doing something else that requires similar skills, those are two great pieces of advice, man. Thinking twice, it's never hurt anybody, broski. So, yeah, man. Yeah, taking a little bit of time. I've got a question I want to ask you, man. It's one of my favorites. It's called Desert Island Kicks. You are cast away on a desert island and you don't know how you got there, but you got 2 pairs of kicks with you.
Kicks are the least of my worries, man.
That's a fair point, considering what we've spoken about. But yeah, I mean, it is a sneaker podcast. We've got to get in there. Like, what 2 pairs of kicks would you have with you and why? And they don't have to be from your collection. They can be from any collection.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going with a Birkenstock mule. I just think if I'm on a desert island, like, they cover your toes, but they're still they got a bit of air in them. Like, they prevent your feet sweating. Like, I think the Birkenstock mules are solid. And then
decent shoe.
If you just give me access to any shoe, like, can I go back for like I want the Futura Laboratories Flum Dunk, please, the Dunk High. You know, if I'm stuck on a desert island, I want to look fly, and that's my grail. Like, that is my grail of all time. So
I respect that.
I'll wear Birkenstocks all day, and I'll have that shoe to look at to keep me motivated.
Yeah, just look at. But the other, I think this is it. This is the point I make. Anytime anybody asks me that question, I always say, you know what? I'll have maybe a pair of Paris Dunks on ice and just wear some foam runners, because ultimately, like, my mindset is at some point I'm either gonna get rescued or find a way off this island,
and I'm gonna need to staying alive. Like, at this point,
for real, I need
the motivation.
I need something to live. I need something to live for, and I need something to start my life back.
Yeah, that's a nice house deposit when you get home.
For real, this is it. Talking about nice house deposits, man. We were talking earlier, and you're probably wondering where I'm going with this, but you'll see it in a few seconds. SBs.
Yes.
SBs are a favorite silhouette for yourself. Is that fair to say?
I got a couple of SBs. I think out of my collection, like maybe like 40 or 50 of them are SBs.
Yeah, a lot of SBs. You could probably get to the point where if you had a good number of them, you get me, like, you'd have a decent amount of money in the bank. I fancy a little bit of a battle, bro. You get me? I'm not letting you get off. I'm not letting you get off scot-free, bro. You thought, oh yeah, we're about to end it. No, bro, we need to battle first. You get me? Yeah, there's only gonna be one winner. You get me? And the people will decide. But yeah, we're battling SBs. You get me? Like, so you're my illustrious guest, as I said, and I meant it, bro. So I will let you go first, bro. And you could go first with a number 1 or a number 3. It's up to you. However you want to
So
go, I'll go with you.
I'll start with number 3, and I'm gonna go with the Nike SB Dunk Low Heineken.
Strong. Very strong.
Yeah.
Super duper strong.
They're
Yeah.
just a shoe that like they're timeless. Like the super limited,
Yeah.
super beautiful, the green, the little red hints. They're a shoe that you can wear all the time. Like that is a shoe that I just I'm very I've actually nearly picked them up multiple times and haven't quite got there yet.
You know, that's a fine, very, very good shoe. I'm going with at my number 3. I'm going with a shoe that we were talking about the bubble of lockdown and COVID a little bit earlier, and this shoe. When I think about this shoe reminds me of COVID because it was one of the biggest collaborations to come out during that time, and I'm talking about the Chunky Donkey.
Yeah,
I think
beautiful.
Like, yeah, I just feel like when those two worlds collided, it was so seamless.
With the special box too.
Yeah, the special box as well. So I love that shoe. I love what it represents. I'm obviously an ice cream fan. You get me? You don't wake up just looking like this. You got to put some time and work in. You get me? Like, so the Chunky Donkey's definitely on the list for me. So yeah, it comes in at number 3.
So for number 2, I'm going with the Jordan 4 SB. I think that is a collaboration that just works in every single aspect. The colorway, I'm going with a bit of a green theme here, but that shoe is like, that for me, that was the shoe that like kind of tipped last year. Like that was there's no shoe that's really come close to that in a while.
Days. James, you've killed me. You've killed me, bro. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of the pine green. I didn't even think of it. It didn't even come to my brain, bro.
They're literally behind you.
This is right there. It's right there. It's right there.
Bro,
that shoe is so sick.
I wish I doubled up.
Yeah, just absolutely the sneaker of the year last year, without a doubt. It was a fantastic drop. Like everything they did to make the shoe more comfortable, the colors they ended up choosing, the time and the effort they took to make sure the tooling was right for an actual skateboard.
Like I just feel like
everything was just perfect. Good. Yeah. Yeah, that's sick, bro. Yeah, you throw me off with that, bro. The thing is, yeah, you've actually incorporated a Jordan into it. As I said, you just killed it on so many levels. All right, that's so annoying. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna go number 2. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a shoe that, like. I don't know if I would say it's a grail. Definitely, yeah, I would definitely say it's not necessarily a grail for SB guys, but probably a grail for Travis guys. I'm gonna go with the Travis SB, right? First to popularize the rope laces, even though they're not as thick as the other ones, but the rope laces are there. The bandana, the usage of the paisley, like a lot of the cool iconic bits and pieces that we see on his stuff now in various different silhouettes, sort of started around that time. So yeah,
material with the cut off pieces, yeah,
as well, man. Yeah, like it's a vibey shoe. Incorporates the brown like we were talking about earlier as well. So definitely a vibe, great materials and a cool shoe. Yeah, cool collaboration. Let's do that. That's number 2.
So my number 1 is actually the shoe I traded for those Travis Scotts. So I paid resale for the Travis Scott SB, and I traded that shoe for both the purple and green lobster. So the purple lobster is my number 1 Nike SB. Like the lobster pack, I've got all 5 of them now. They are the greatest SB pack ever released. On point concepts. I love what they do out there. Like even the stuff that isn't the lobster, like the Pink Pig highs they did. Like that store and on point is just a genius when it comes to sneaker collaborations. But the lobster pack, and especially the purple lobster, is the most beautiful Nike SB dunk ever made.
Strong. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the lobsters are they're a dynasty at this point.
Yeah.
Respectfully, concepts of G's. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going with something in my number 1. Yeah, right. I'm not gonna go Paris because like that's wild.
Because I'd lose.
Right? Yeah. But I also mentioned it earlier in regards to my desert island, because I always draw for that when it comes to money. But there is another shoe that I absolutely love, and I'm a boxing fan. And there was a boxer about a year ago. It was maybe even a bit longer than a year. I think his name was Caleb Plant, right? And he reminded me of an SB because he had customized his boxing boots.
I know exactly which ones you're on about now.
Bro. And when I saw the fight and I saw what he had on feet, I was like, that shoe is absolutely, and the story behind the shoe is sick as well. Gave me a few nightmares as a kid. I'm talking about the Freddy Kruegers, bro.
Yeah.
The Freddy Kruegers, bro.
So they are one of the ultimate grails, and like considering how few pairs there are out there, like they're a shoe that I've been very lucky to have in hand a couple of times, and they do not disappoint. Like
it's a crazy shoe.
The fact that shoe got cancelled, you could go into the whole story about like why it doesn't exist, but like it is cancelled. A crime against sneakers that shoe is the way.
Yeah, it was cancelled, but how many pairs made it out of the factory?
I've seen rumors that like there's like 30 pairs, and then I know of about 30 people who own them. So
at least,
no way.
Bro, 30. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm saying that, but we have to sort of take into account that there might be some fake floating about somewhere.
You can't even tell because like everyone's got a sample pair as well.
Well, this is it. There's like 5 different pairs. There's like 5 different pairs, so it's very, very difficult and very, very hard to substantiate, I'm sure. But it is what it is, man. The Freddy Krueger is crazy. Do you know what? Yeah, I feel like those two lists are actually fairly solid. Like it is fairly solid.
I tried to not go for any of like the crazy pairs because like I could like my grail shoe is the Future Libraries Flom Dunk High. Like that shoe like for me with the money print and the brown like leather, like they're just an incredible shoe. But I think that like 1 in 24 never reproduced. Like it's just one of those shoes. Like if you were to put in a list like that, it's a bit unreasonable. Like I always try to keep it fair.
No, you're fair. No, yours was fair. Maybe I was a little bit cheeky.
No, the Krugers deserve it. Like don't get me wrong. Like if I could go back and have any SBs that I could, like the Krugers would be like top 3 for me. Like bro. If I could ever,
definitely in there.
They're one of those shoes that I don't like. I don't even know if I could go back and pick a pair up because. Where'd you get stuff like that from? Like,
bro, yeah. Like, I'll be real. Yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, the only people I'm dealing with is probably like London Sneaker Club.
Yeah, I feel.
Ryan Moses. That's the only guy. If I get it from them, I know it's legit. If anybody else, I'm not sure about that.
They're one, especially with like a box and stuff. Like I've seen a couple that have boxes and like they go for silly money, like house prices.
Yeah, buddy. Like I was saying, like no, that's not the type. People, that's not the type of shoe you buy at StockX. Just put it that way. Don't buy that shit.
That's a shoe you see some random guy walking around SneakerCon or Crep City or something like.
Do not buy that shoe off a table like that, bro. You need some provenance. You know what I'm saying? Like you might need to take a flight to go get that kit, bro. But yeah, no, that was sick. The people will decide. We'll find out what happens with that one. But yeah, let's do some quick fires and let's work our way out, man. These quick fires it is what it says on the tin. Quick fires. I'm gonna shoot. And you know what I'm saying, like, just give it to me straight from the chest. No messing about, no dilly-dallying with this. Right. If there is any kind of weird or wonderful answers, we might come back to it at the end, have a little chat about those. But if you keep your nose clean, it'll be absolutely fine. All right. Let me know if you're ready. You ready?
Let's go.
Let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Starting off big. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
New Balance or Adidas?
New Balance.
New Balance or Saucony?
It's Saucony, but New Balance.
I hate you for saying that. Can you wear Nike and Adidas together, yes or no?
No.
What was your last Nike sneakers app win?
Cortez 95 pink.
Pink beams?
Yep.
That's a fantastic win.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. What is your Jordan number, if you have one?
Don't know that. Oh, favorite Jordan?
Yes.
Jordan 4-ish.
Respect.
I don't know.
YouTube ish.
Yeah, I like. I've never thought about it. I like quite a few of them, and I don't have a favorite to be honest. But to pick would be between the 1 and the 4.
Okay. Is that a dilly dally, or are we saying 1 or a 4?
Jordan 1.
Okay, we go with that. YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok?
Instagram.
Sneakers, kicks, or crepes?
Sneakers.
Spotify or Apple?
Spotify.
Favorite collaboration?
That is on the spot.
It's a tough one.
Union and Jordan.
Okay. That's a strong shoe. Or multiple shoes. Vans or Converse?
Neither.
That's fair. Laces or slip-ons?
Laces.
Default laces or do you pattern your laces?
I relace, but just standard.
Respect. Do you customize your shoes or you straight factory settings?
Factory.
Retro or innovation?
I like a retro.
Flip-flops or slides?
Slides.
Barefoot or socks?
Socks.
Comfort or style?
Style. But ish.
Fresh.
Like, the older I get, the more I go down the I can't think of what it is. Yeah, the older I get, the more I prefer comfort.
I hear you. At the ripe old age of 23. How old he is. I respect it. Fresh and clean or beaten and battered?
Fresh and clean.
Washing machine or hand washing your kicks?
Hand wash, but I rarely ever clean my kicks. They never get dirty.
I hear that. Lows, mids or highs?
Lows and highs, never mids.
Fairs. And triple blacks or whites? Last one.
Whites.
Yeah, okay. Fairly unscathed with that, I think.
I try to keep it as little dilly-dallying as possible, but
yes.
some things need
I respect that. Yeah, some of them might need context. Are there any that you wish to elaborate on?
My favorite Jordan silhouette, I find it super hard because, like, I'll be honest, I don't buy a lot of Jordans. Like, I would say the Jordan 1s are the main, like, in my collection. So, like, I got quite a few of them. But, like, I like the Jordan 4 for the aesthetics, but they're not a comfy shoe, so I don't buy a lot of them. Like, and then I like a 3, but I've not seen many 3s I like. Because I'd like a black cement. I had the white cement, but my elephant print was awful, so I sold it to someone for retail. I didn't like the J Balvins. I didn't think they were a good shoe. So
no, you didn't like the J Balvins.
I just think that, like, I think that the problem is that, like, that yellowish leather, like the cream leather, it wasn't for me. I didn't like it as much. I know some people make it look great, but for me personally, it wasn't what I. It
is different. I think officially it was referred to as coconut milk. But it is. I mean, it's not sale.
No,
it's not sale. And the thing is, yeah, I think some people sort of had the idea that it possibly would be sale, but it's definitely not. And then obviously the cement was a lighter color cement, a lighter grey cement as well. So there was a few sort of elements that were slightly different. For a lot of people, loved the shoe part of the top 10 for a lot of people for last year.
I just think there was a shoe that for me, like, I would have preferred a more whiter color on the leather. I think I would have appreciated it a lot more. But again, I think that not all shoes are for everyone, and, like, it was just one of those shoes that didn't hit for me. So, like,
I respect that. We're gonna work our way to the end of the interview. Once again, thank you so much, sort of for your candor and also just being a part of this interview. I'm going to ask you about the word sneakerhead. I know it's definitely a term that you've heard multiple times. What does it mean to you, quite simply?
Sneakerhead, it very much depends on the context, but it's someone who likes kicks. Like, I feel like some people can, I use the phrase gatekeep, but, like, some people can really, like, defend its usage, and, like, they really want to kind of defend its, like, they want it to have, like, a standard of meaning. But I really think that at this point, like, sneakerhead is just someone who has a passion for kicks, and, like, it doesn't matter about the amount of shoes you own. It just cares about the passion you have behind it. Like, I think that as long as you have a willingness to learn and you want to be involved, like, that makes you a sneakerhead. Like, I think that for me is, like, all it is. But I know for others it can mean, like, someone who's been in sneakers for a while or has a certain amount of sneakers or whatever. Like, some people, like, would like it to mean more than that. I just think that for me, like, it isn't really it's nothing more deep than someone who likes shoes.
I respect that. And with that being said, James Harvey, founder of the Urban Syndicate, Are you a sneakerhead?
Yeah, I'm a sneakerhead, and I'm proud as well.
Love that, bro. Love that, man. And I completely agree with what you said in regards to some people throw out some certain criteria that they would believe to be important for you to qualify as a sneakerhead. I don't really subscribe to that. I mean, I don't really get into anybody for having those beliefs. Just believe what you want, but ultimately, if you like kicks, if you love kicks, if you've got a passion for kicks,
Yeah, it's a
bro,
willingness to learn. I think is the
yeah,
thing for me.
and also, yeah, absolutely, because without a shadow of a doubt, I come onto this podcast. I speak to people like yourself that are very, very knowledgeable in the game, and I learn things. I'm learning all the time. My lifelong passion for kicks doesn't guarantee that I'll know about everything, because this is such a vast genre. Like, it's so huge in regards to the amount of shoes that have been made in the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Like, some people have an encyclopedic brain when it
It's
comes to these
for
things.
me. It's
I don't.
talking to people like you that gives me the insight to be able to like change my opinions. Like I love to like
I
listen to
appreciate that.
podcasts and to talk to people and like kind of be able to just like pick at their brains because like for me like I have a set of beliefs, but I'm not attached to them. So I am
Hmm.
able to like I see someone has this opinion. I'm like, actually, like, there's some weight to that, and I might not believe it wholeheartedly, but I could then go away and listen to other people and like kind of delve into it. Like, I think a lot of my opinions kind of like I've changed so many of my opinions over the last couple of months just by being around different people who have different opinions, and I can like kind of appreciate that some things are steadfast, and I have like a black and white opinion, and then other things are a massive gray area where like it very much depends situation to situation.
On the situation and circumstance, and I completely agree with that. And I think that's what maturity and life will teach you. That certain things are just not black and white. Certain things require a little bit more discussion, time. You get me? Just like, we just live in a time basically where everything is instant,
Everything's social media,
and
and like so
yeah,
we've never
we've
lived.
even got AI making decisions for us. So it's like, why would you spend another hour a day, a week thinking about something that you could just ask ChatGPT about?
It actually makes me worried that like I did you see that they're releasing a set of Nike released a set of slides? I can't think of what their actual name is, and they look like ChatGPT drew them. Do you know when everyone was going through that stage where like they had like the cartoon sneakers where like it was just drawn by ChatGPT, and it was like
Oh, I do.
draw me an ice cream Jordan 4, and it come with like all these like really cartoonish shoes. Nike releasing a
Oh, I do.
slide, and I looked at it, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, that was designed by AI. There's no way a person come up with that idea. And now I'm getting to the stage where it's like I look at things from this like AI lens. Like this is actually something I'd love to talk about another time. But like AI and
I
ChatGPT,
definitely feel we should definitely bring it. We should definitely do that round two, bro.
AI and
I've got a
ChatGPT is
lot like I
a
chat to you
dangerous
about.
game.
Very dangerous game, man. But bro, like, this has been your Kicks Chronicles. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Like, probably 5-6 million people are gonna watch this. So please tell the people. Please tell the people how they can get in contact, how they can support what you're doing over at the Urban Syndicate.
So our Instagram is where we do most of our work. At the _urban_syndicate. We do have a Twitter and a Facebook and all that, but I never use it, so there's no point being there. Feel free to DM us and join the Discord. As I said, like we have an onboarding system now, so people can come in and get to know us and kind of get involved with the community as and how they wish. Like I feel like that's probably the best way to be involved with what we do. We have an event planned. The date hasn't been announced, but we're going to get everyone together hopefully just before summer. I've got another event planned, which is hopefully just after summer. So things are moving for us, but please appreciate like with sneakers not being as hot right now, things are kind of moving a bit slower for us. So it's a very turbulent time in the sneaker market, and Urban Syndicate is feeling that. But we got a lot planned on the back end.
We like that. We like that, man. Right. Shout out to Urban Syndicate and all its members, man. Keep on doing your thing. James, once again, an absolute pleasure. This has been Kicks Chronicles, your sneaker and lifestyle podcast. Guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those great things. While you're liking, commenting, and subscribing, make sure to go hit up the Urban Syndicate, light those boys up. You get me? I think James has got an Instagram as well. You might want to light that up as well. What is James's one?
No,
Do you want to shout out your one as well?
Mine's James.Harvey5, but like I'll be honest, my personal's for me. Like I post my own stuff. Urban Syndicate's where it's at, and we can keep it there.
I hear that. I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, so basically, you're saying, man, if you don't know me, don't jump on that. He's been very polite about it. You get me, man? But this has been sick. I really, really enjoyed it. And what I said was absolutely true. Like, while you were talking and while we were getting in to more understanding about how things and the inner workings of the Urban Syndicate, I was thinking, bro, we could actually talk about that and loads of other things for a while.
Well,
like, it was
I
really,
tried
really
to
cool.
keep it real and raw. Like I'll be
Yeah.
honest. Like I feel a lot of podcasts kind of struggle to get to the nitty-gritty, and like I'm an open book when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So
No,
I
I
appreciate you, man.
appreciate it.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you very, very much for your candor, bro. It's really, really refreshing, man. But to be fair, like, I haven't had many times that I felt on the podcast people like truly holding back. It's been more of a thing of like, am I asking the question that's really gonna draw that information out of them? But I really felt like today like was good in that regard because of just how interested I am from an observer's perspective about those communities within communities sort of thing. So it was just a very, very cool vibe and something I've been looking forward to for a while. But guys, yeah, this is Kicks Chronicles, Sneaker and Lifestyle Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. 5-star reviews only. I'm sorry, I only see 5 stars. You get me? So even if you hated it, just throw up that 5-star and let me know why.
Yeah. Give that man his 5 stars.
Give me the 5 stars, man. I need the 5 stars. But yeah, with all of that being said, man, I've been your boy PROZECH. Guys, look after yourselves. Spread love, positivity. Look after one another as well. And until I see you, man, down the road, everyone stay blessed, man. Thank you for listening to this episode of Kicks Chronicles. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, rate, review, and all that good stuff. And remember, full video version is available on YouTube, audio versions available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.